The issue of domestic violence is a serious one nationwide. Joining us to talk about it is visiting professor at FAMU College of Law, Shelly Page. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. What are the signs that someone is in an abusive relationship?
There are a few signs that one can look for. A person that's very controlling of another person's behavior, someone wanting to continually monitor a person's digital device, wanting to see text messages, wanting to check out the person's social media, trying to dictate what clothing the person wears, where they go, who they associate with. Someone who has like an explosive behavior, let's say an emotional reaction that is outweighed by the weight of the situation, getting very angry for something that's really minor. Just a few signs that especially teenagers should look for is someone who just is very controlling, isolating a person from friends and family, trying to decide, telling a person how much they should weigh, how much they should eat. Just a few signs that you might be in an abusive relationship, a controlling relationship.
And
So I would say
how,
manipulative behavior.
thank you. And what about parents? What are parents to look for as signs that their teenager might be in an abusive relationship?
Again, monitoring your child's digital devices, making sure, in my opinion, I think that parents should always have passwords to digital devices, making sure that you're watching your child's behavior. If your child is normally outgoing and all of a sudden they're no longer outgoing and they are isolating themselves to one person, maybe even a change in attitude, a change in behavior, which I know happens with teenagers anyway, but just being
Right.
able to monitor if you see a drastic change in your child's emotional behavior. Watching social media.
And what can family members do once you notice these signs? What do you recommend is a conversation starter?
Yeah, so maybe like if it's a teenager, this is the conversation I would suggest. Tell me about this. And I'm just going to say a girl because the vast majority of people that are victimized through domestic violence are females. So a potential conversation would be, tell me about this guy that you're dating. What's he like? What's he into? Why haven't we met him? And seeing what the reaction is, seeing what the response is. How does he treat you? How does he talk to you? How does he feel about your friends? How does he feel about you having other male friends? And depending on what the conversation and the responses are, maybe educating your child on what an abusive relationship looks like. We've had young people in schools killed by abusive boyfriends. I remember when I lived in Austin, Texas, I was a prosecutor at the time. We had a young girl who was killed in the high school
Wow.
where she and her boyfriend went to school. So this is a very serious situation. Teen violence is a serious epidemic. If you have an adult who's in an abusive relationship, that one can be a little more complicated, especially if children are involved or if they are married. But at least letting the adult know of resources that are available. Perhaps telling the adult if you want to come up with a code word. Let's say you call me and you say, tomorrow I'm going to the dentist. That might be code from you to me to let me know something is wrong. Coming up with a code word that just would let the other person know I feel like I'm in trouble, but just making sure having resources available and letting that person know that you are available to help them if they need help.
What do you think about protective orders? I mean, restraining orders. Are they helpful?
Yes, and so my first job out of law school, I worked at Legal Aid, and in a solid year as a criminal prosecutor, I got protective orders for victims of abuse. In Florida, they're called injunctions. But I totally believe in them, but I always stress to my victims, it's just a piece of paper. And at the end of the day, if this abuser, this perpetrator decides he or she is going to hurt you, that paper is not going to stop a knife or a bullet. And so just making sure to be wise, but definitely I tell all victims, take advantage of injunctions. They keep you safe at home, safe at work. They protect children, and they can even protect pets. Harbor House here in Orlando, they actually are one of the few shelters that provide help for victims of abuse and their pets. And that's a big thing because in a lot of abusive situations, abusers actually kill pets. I have a former law student who was in an abusive relationship and he killed their dog just
Wow.
recently. It's a
Wow.
serious situation.
Wow. Well, we certainly appreciate you joining us and sharing some helpful insights as to how we can spot it, maybe some potential responses and just some scenarios. I did not know about the pets, and that's a great consideration. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you very, very much for having me.
We certainly appreciate Professor Page sharing a few tips about what to look for and how to address things that we might be looking at. And so we can never have too many of those tips. And we appreciate her time. And thank you for joining us for that.